My race nutrition plan, I was gut trained, I was fueled properly, I had it all mapped out and it worked. My bike nutrition, 6.5 hours on a freaking bike. Everything was consumed properly at the right time and I felt great. In fact, there wasn't once where I was like, oh, I'm not feeling so great. I was like, no, I feel 10 out of 10 right now. I feel like I can keep going. And I did.
My guest on the podcast today is 22 years old and she has just crossed the finish line of her first ever Ironman. Yep, the full 140.6 up in Cairns on the weekend. Welcome to the podcast, Lily. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I'm so excited. So excited to finish. So excited to be here.
I told you when you first joined TNA that you would be on the podcast and, well, that moment has finally come.
Yay.
3 years ago, you'd never raced a triathlon. You come from a rugby background and you got into triathlon really just to stay fit for rugby. How do you do it? How do you balance triathlon with high-level rugby? Because they are two completely different sports.
Yeah, I kind of ask myself that every day. How does it work? And I get asked that all the time. I don't think I've met anyone else that does triathlon and rugby. As you said, they are completely polar opposite. But I think, they're both addictive sports. Rugby's because of the community as well. It's not just the sport, but it's also the people, the girls, the team, the town, everything around it, and the pressure. And then triathlon is also kind of the same thing, but just it's also more personalized. So it's a little bit more about you and your performance. And I like that. I like that it's your control. So, yeah.
Yeah, you've got the team sport element and all the vibes of working together with people. And then you have a solo sport where it is just you out there on your bike for 6.5 hours. So what made you fall in love with triathlon so much that you decided to sign up for a full Ironman?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. I think I did my first sprint distance back in November 2024. And fortunately, my brother came with me for the race and he was at the finish line. And I remember crossing the finish line and going, James, that was the hardest thing I've ever done, but the most fun thing I've ever done. And I said, I reckon I can do this again. I'm addicted. I'm keen. And then it's just been a progression from there. So, you did the Olympic distance and that was fun. I was like, okay, what can I do next? So I did a 7.3. And then from there, I was like, all right, well, if I can do that, why not the Ironman? Give it a red hot shot.
And so is the next progression a 3-day multi-sport event like Ultraman? Is that where you're heading?
Maybe. No, probably at a faster time in an Ironman.
Okay. All right. Yeah. We'll get to that at the end. We've got a lot to talk about before I ask you about that. But because we just had the best time at Cairns over the weekend, I've got major come downs after spending such a good time with everyone there. And now, back at home and back to the grind of mum life and I'm at my desk and it's almost a little bit depressing. But can you take me back to the end? Take me back to the finish line. What was going through your head when you ran down that red carpet and you crossed the finish line and Pete said, Lily Gotting, you are an Ironman?
Well, you're going to make me cry a little bit. It was, words can't even do it justice, like just how amazing it was to be there, not only to see that red carpet and that finish line, but to have TNA and the crew and you there. It was just electric to cross that finish line and have the team and the support there, even though it is an individual sport and God, it was a hard day out by yourself, it's still the community at the end of the day, the people at that finish line who are there that really get you across. And, ringing that bell, there was this little group of people that were just screaming at you and it was like, yeah, I did that. And then you get across the finish line and high-fiving you guys along the way. It's like, yeah, I did that. And then, across that finish line and it was just, you just pumped, absolutely amped.
Now, I said to you before you went in, there's going to be a moment where you are going to feel pretty rough and you're going to have a deep, dark hole mentally that you might need to climb out of. And so you were prepared for that. What was the toughest moment for you, though, out on course? And how did you then get yourself through it to get to the finish line?
Yeah, well, actually, based on your recommendation, on the bus to the start line, I listened to an earlier podcast where you interviewed Hayley Perlis on mental resilience. And having that in the back of my mind, it was during the swim, actually. So the first leg, washing machine style swim, it was absolutely chaos. And I stopped on a lifeguard's surfboard because I was just getting bashed around. And I'm not the strongest swimmer. I can swim, but it's definitely not my strongest leg. I stopped and I just like, okay, what is this inviting me to do? It's inviting me to get through it so I can then get to the next leg. And I did it. I was like, well, if I can do that swim, I can do that bike. And if I can do that bike, I can do that run. And I did. And I got through. There was only once on the bike where I did say to myself, yeah, I hate myself a little bit right now, but I can do this. And I don't think there wasn't a single time where I thought, I can't do this. I'm not going to finish. And I thought that was pretty special.
That is amazing. That was a really brutal swim. Apparently there was 70 people pulled out of the water. Like, this was absolute carnage. I was sitting on the beach watching everyone, and like IRB after IRB keeps coming in. That's those little electric boats, those motorized boats that they surf lifesaver you out of the water with. So many people were coming in and just like hurling their guts out over the side and then staggering up onto the beach. So good on you for getting through that. I know it was a long swim and it was a brutal swim, which is not the ideal start to the day, but I guess you weren't alone in that, and good on you for getting through.
Thank you. Yeah, I was not one of those 70 people. Thank goodness for that. An absolute win.
Yes. So what did it mean for you then at 22 years old to do a 13-hour, 21 minutes, 54-second Ironman at your first crack at the distance? Like, you're an absolute machine.
I think for me, like, the time wasn't really in my mind. It was just about getting across that finish line, finishing my first attempt. And it just meant getting there. Like, that's all it really meant to me, being that first time finisher, first time attempt, first time getting it done. And I still kind of can't believe that I did it. I think I'm still in the mentality of like, don't think about the distance, because if you think about that, it's a 180K ride or it's a 42 run, you're not going to get through it. Well, it's just going to be so much harder. So trying to tell my brain now that I did do that and that it is a long way, it still kind of hasn't hit me yet. And especially at 22, I think for me, I am 22. So maybe when I'm 40, I'll go, oh my God, I did that at 22. But right now it's like, yeah, I did. And what?
I think you have the element of young on your side though. You are one of the youngest athletes in our TNA community. Most of the people in our community are in their 40s, in their 50s, and some are even in their 60s and 70s. As the young person, or, flying the young person flag, what do you think a lot of the younger triathletes just get wrong about this sport, or even about themselves?
Nutrition, obviously, and overtraining. I reckon those are definitely the two biggest things. Just trying to do it all so you can beat it all. It's not the way. They're not recovering properly. Like, then they blow up and then they don't like the sport anymore because, they're burnt out from it. And it's like, well, if you took a step back and, fixed your nutrition, ate properly, recovered properly, didn't train every hour of the day and got it right, then you'd probably fall in love with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think because when you're younger, you've got more time, potentially the body can absorb more training, and so you just keep throwing more at you. Particularly for yourself, you're a high achiever, right? You do rugby training and triathlon training.
Yeah, I have been known to be that overtrainer a lot. Just asked my coach, Pablo. He's like, Lily, stop doing so much. No, I like it. But yeah, you just want to get it done.
Do you have any advice for the younger triathletes who are not necessarily thinking that nutrition is something they need to work on, or it's something that they'll maybe revisit later when they're older, or they have more time, or they have more money, or they're not having any problems necessarily, so they don't know what they don't know yet?
Yeah, start now. Don't be silly. You're only doing yourself a disadvantage. For me, joining TNA, it was literally the first module, recovery nutrition. I was like, oh, yeah, right. I got a lot to learn. And I'd been listening to the podcast for ages, and I've been always like, I would literally go on a walk, listen to the podcast, have my notes app open and jot down as much as I could to get anything out of the podcast. And then when I joined TNA, even as amazing as the podcast was, I was like, whoa, there is just so much I don't know, so much I can improve on. And I think it is a privilege at my age, at 22, to be able to work on that and set myself up for the rest of my life. Like, what I have learned in TNA is honestly going to set myself up for longevity and health and fueling correctly for, however long I'm going to live, maybe like 85 years, you never know. Because
Could be
I'm
90.
fueling, could be 90.
100.
Because I'm fueling properly now, guys. Like, what? Crazy.
So before you joined the academy then, what was your nutrition actually like? Can you please be honest with me? Like, were you fueling your training at all, or were you just winging it? Did you have any idea how to eat to support training you actually trained for 4 sports, rugby and swim, bike, run?
Yeah. I did actually have a little bit of an idea. I always had an interest in nutrition, food. I'm a chef by trade, so I can cook quite well. Went to chefing school, and you learn a little bit, but not enough. Like, it's just a little bit about more technique and service.
Yeah, you don't learn about building a proper meal.
Absolutely not. It's how to make it taste good, not how to make it beneficial for your health. So, yeah, I knew a little bit, and I would fuel, but nowhere near what I needed it to be. Like, I reckon I would have been off, hundreds of grams of carbs. Recovery nutrition, way later than when it needed to be, and not what it needed to be. Like, I was definitely one of those people that came from a strength training background. So, a recovery protein shake was all I'd have. And it was probably an hour after the gym, which is less than ideal. So, yeah, I've learnt a little bit, a lot.
And what would you have done? Like, this blows my mind with you. What would you have done without TNA? Like, do you think you would have crossed the finish line of Cairns Ironman without it? Like, I know you're pretty stubborn, but do you think you would have made it?
No. Like 100%, no. I would have burnt out. I would have bonked. I don't even think I would have, I don't know if it would have crossed my mind that I could have even done an Ironman, It was probably when I joined TNA that I was like, yeah, I actually can do this now. I've got nutrition on my side. And you said it once, you say it again. It's the fourth leg. It's 100% the fourth leg, and especially for an Ironman. So that finish line maybe I would have got there because of my stubbornness, but it would have taken me a long time.
What were some of the things that you were doing to try and figure out your nutrition on your own? Like, you were listening to the podcast, and I know a lot of people get a lot of information out of the podcast, but there is a big difference between what I give away for free on the podcast versus what my paying customers get in terms of information. You're getting it off the internet, are you asking mates? Like, how are you trying to figure it out for yourself? What were some of the things that you were doing?
I did ask my coach a fair bit of questions, and he would just tell me, and as amazing as he is, he's not a sports dietitian. He's not an advanced sports dietitian, might I add. He does not know enough. He would just tell me, eat more carbs, eat more carbs. And he's not allowed to give me nutrition advice, and he knows that. So, yeah, I would ask him questions. He'd just say, eat more carbs, and I would, but not enough. I would eat maybe another cup of rice. That was about it. in the day. And then, yeah, definitely off the internet, social media. Social media was a massive way that I would try and get information. And, you know, the algorithm, it feeds you what you're talking about, what you're looking at. And so triathlon, nutrition, it all kind of came hand in hand. And I'd get these recipes and it would be low cal, weight loss, you know, as a female, big emphasis on being the smallest you can be, the leanest, toned, and that's not performance, as I've now learned. You can be that, and you can also be fueling correctly. So the information out there is just, there's so much, and 1% of it is worth listening to, not even. So, yeah, just, it was a lot of head noise. There was just so much out there, and you'd be trying to consume so much of it that you'd go blank because you didn't know where to start. You didn't know what was right, what was wrong. And then, yeah, joining TNA just tuned all of that out. And you learned exactly what you needed. You learned exactly how you personalize it for you. And, you know, I used my Ironman training race plan for the nutrition. I used my carb loading worksheets. I used my pre-race morning worksheet to figure out what I needed to eat the day before, and it got me through.
Yay! One of the things you said to me is that the Triathlon Nutrition Academy didn't just teach you how to fuel your race day and, you know, understand carb loading properly and your pre-race meal and all those sorts of intricacies that we do in detail to build a fully customized, personalized race nutrition plan for every single distance. But what it also did was teach you how to eat, just generally, like full stop, because it's not something you ever learnt in school. What are some of the things that you do now, day to day, that you never would have known to do before?
A colourful plate. I reckon it's the biggest thing. Veggies. You know, I thought I ate veggies. I love veggies. But no, not enough veggies. Okay, I'll eat more veggies. And eating a variety, healthy fats. Say you got told a lot to stay away from oils because they're bad for you. But actually, if you eat them correctly and eat them the right way, they're really good for you and they help you. Nuts, seeds. I would never have added chia seeds or flax seeds or something to my wheat bix in the morning, and now I do. And I freaking love it. Beans, legumes, those are kind of the things those little things that you push aside. Yeah, I'll eat more meat, I'll eat more veggies, I'll, you know, have a clean plate. But there's all that other stuff that kind of just gets forgotten about or not talked about. And yeah, as I said, in school for me, I only finished 5 years ago?
Stop it.
So it's still pretty fresh in my mind. You don't learn that stuff. You don't learn how to look after your body. You don't learn how to fuel properly, how to set yourself up. And so, yeah, jumping into TNA and learning how to set yourself up for the rest of your life from your day-to-day nutrition is just absolutely unreal. I think another big thing, thinking back to even like the social media side, is more protein, more protein, more protein. And actually, that's not really true. You've got your targets. In TNA, you learn how to figure out what your target is and then how to hit that correctly. And that is so valuable.
Amazing. Thank you. Kicking girls, Lily. Fucking kicking girls. I think that's crazy. Like, we obviously don't learn how to eat when we're at school, but everyone eats. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. So I think everyone's going to find value in understanding nutrition for them, whether it is as a triathlete or just general nutrition, whatever it is. Educate yourself so that you're putting the right building blocks into your body, because you have your body for life. So we want to be doing the best we can every single day. And health is obviously one of my highest values, so it's a no-brainer for me, but it's just trying to get people to understand how important it is to be eating the right things on a daily basis. So can we get really specific in your race nutrition now? How did your race nutrition hold up on the day? Did it go all to plan? Did you have to adapt anything on the fly? and what lessons did you learn in the event that maybe you'll use for the next one?
My race nutrition plan, I kid you not, to a T, like literally to a T. I had planned for a little bit of leniency with fueling with a little bit of extra carbs with chews, and to make sure that I wasn't pushing my stomach too much. And I did, because I was gut trained, I was fueled properly, I had spaced it out correctly, I had it all mapped out, and it worked. My bike nutrition, 6.5 hours on a freaking bike, and everything was consumed properly at the right time and when I needed it to be consumed. And I felt great. Like, there wasn't once where I was like, oh, I think I'm not feeling so great. I was like, no, I feel 10 out of 10 right now. I feel like I can keep going. And I did. And then getting onto the run, you know, I'm not a Coke drinker. I've never have been. My mother would kill me. But I had those splashes of Coke, which I had mapped out in my plan, and it was great. Like, it pushed me through. I had my gels, I had my chews. I'm a chronic water bottle drinker and water bottle carrier, more should I say. And I carried that bloody thing for the first lap, and I had my electrolytes in there, and I had it all, and I felt great for doing it. So I picked up my next bottle and I carried it with me the rest of the way. And then, as mapped out in my plan, I dropped it to the last 2 laps, and that was perfect. So it was a little safety net for me as well. Like, I could drink when I wanted to. I didn't have to wait for the next aid station. So I drank to thirst, got what I needed to in. I think the only adaptation probably would have been taking some Panadol, along the way.
So some paracetamol for the internationals.
Yeah.
Just from like a leg pain. You said you were getting stiff at about halfway through the marathon.
Yeah. I had a really big rugby game the weekend before, and I had a few niggles from that I was starting to really feel in the run. So, yeah, tight calves and hamstrings.
Would you have done, or would you do anything differently for the next time?
Yeah, not play a rugby game the week before.
Good tip. Write that down for future Lily.
Future Lily, do not play rugby leading up to an Ironman. I think
we did talk about you not doing that game, but you were like, it's not happening, Taryn. I'm playing rugby. I'm like, fine, you do you, mate.
It was a representative game. I had to, rep the region. Anyways, the only thing I would change would have been, not playing a rugby game.
Okay. Nailed it. Fully nailed it.
Fully nailed it. I think for my first Ironman, my goal was just to finish. I wasn't necessarily racing for performance. I wasn't racing for a place. I'm a classic age grouper at the moment. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And I think, the next one will be a performance one, maybe.
Okay. And how are you feeling after the big race? Are you feeling, good compared to maybe what you used to feel like after big training sessions? How's your recovery going?
Well, there was big talk about getting Kelly, who was also there racing, who's part of TNA, to get my bike in the morning for me, because I didn't think I'd be able to walk. And I went down and I got my own bike and I packed it up myself. So I think that just speaks highly of, my recovery, fueling properly, like just being able to go back to my day-to-day life. I'll probably play rugby this weekend. That's how good I feel. I'm stiff. That's no joke. I have stairs in my house and there is swear words every time I go up and down them. But, we're only a couple of days post and I'm feeling pretty bloody good.
Do you have to use your hands to sit down on the toilet? That's a good KPI.
Oh, I have. I've got the perfect way to sit down on the toilet. Put my hand in between my legs and one behind, and I lower myself down. I've got it all figured out. Yep.
It's a great tip.
But I don't have to yeet myself up anymore.
That's good. When you first looked at the Triathlon Nutrition Academy, you've been following along on socials for a while now. You balked at the price, and I know a lot of athletes do, and particularly younger athletes. Can you talk me through what made you commit anyway? Like, did you have a conversation in your head or with people around you maybe about whether you could justify the investment or not?
I think, honestly, just repetitively listening to the podcast and just hearing over and over again, you know, the stories, what, you know, you teach inside TNA. And I would always go, oh, I just want to know a little bit more. I just want to know more. I just want to know what they find out in there. And I think it must have been after a race or something. Yeah, it was after Port Macquarie. So that was back May last year, and I joined in October. And after Port Macquarie, because I had no plan for Port Macquarie, absolutely none. I couldn't even tell you what my race day nutrition was. No idea. And so after that race, I was like, okay, it's time to stop winging this because I got no idea what's going on. I didn't have the best day out. I finished it because I'm too stubborn, but it was so freaking hard. And so I was like, all right, it's time to bite the bullet and join. And there's been no looking back. There's not been one moment where I've gone, it wasn't worth it. Oh, I just wish I had saved that money to spend on a bike. No, it was so freaking worth it.
So now that you have been through it, you're finishing up phase 3 and you've just finished Cairns Ironman. Is it worth the investment?
Like 113,472%.
That's a lot. That's a lot of percentage. I don't even know how many that is.
I couldn't even say that number again. It's so worth it. I just would not be here or walking without TNA. I would not be an Ironman finisher without TNA. No way.
No way. I think there's a lot of people in that same boat. Like they're out there and they're just struggling and they know they need to do something, but they don't know where to go for the right information, or they're not willing yet to invest that much in it. But I think you're a great example of the difference of not having a nutrition plan and having a nutrition plan.
Yep. Yeah, if you're going to look at anyone, look at a young person. Like I'm 22 and I've got youth on my side, 100%. But even youth is not enough to get you across. Nutrition is. It's simple as that, I reckon.
If there's somebody listening that's about to embark on their first Ironman like you, Lily, do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, join TNA. Duh.
Any other advice?
Enjoy the day. Like, it's a long day out. If you're going to do an Ironman, and it's your first one, it's just about the freaking experience. Like, it's just about doing it. You'll remember that day for the rest of your life. I know I definitely will. It's a journey. Gosh, it's a journey. It's like longer than a full-time job's day work. You're out there. That's a shift. You're putting in a shift. And make sure you don't stop your Garmin watch across the finish line. I saw someone do that and I was like, oh, you idiot.
Who gave you that piece of advice, Lily?
Perhaps you.
I did give Lily advice on how to make her finish line photos look good, and it was to not be looking down, turning off your Garmin as you cross the finish line. Like arms up, smile on your face, like you're just living at large.
Yep.
And do your finisher pics look awesome?
Oh, yeah, they do. Oh, yeah, they do. I'm like, oh, look at that. Her arms are up. She's smiling. Yeah, that's right, guys. I crossed the finish line with a freaking smile.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yep.
So has finishing an Ironman at 22 years old changed the way you think about yourself or even what you're capable of?
Maybe ask me that in a week. Still really hasn't hit me yet. But probably. Anything is possible. #Ironman. If you can do an Ironman, what else can you do? Surely. People can do hard things. Actually, you said that to me. I reckon it was my second lap. And I reckon I said that to myself the whole of that second lap. I can do hard things. I can do hard things. And I can. And I did. And we're here now. First time Ironman finisher.
Yep. It was actually a third lap and you're starting to slow down. And I ran with you for a bit. And I was like, Lily, you got this. You can do hard things.
I reckon that's when I started. That's what I said. I starting to get sore.
Yep.
And tight.
You can see it in your face. Like the first 2 laps, you're pretty smiley and, chatty. And then the lap after that, third lap, you're like head down, no eye contact, bit frowny, less bubbly Lily version. So what's next for you then? Are you going to do another Ironman? Are you going to continue rugby by the sounds? But what's the grand plans? Have you got your eyes set on Kona?
I mean, why not? What's the harm in chasing that? World Championships? Pretty freaking cool. So I guess, finish the first one. Know I'm capable of it. Next natural progression is performance, I suppose. Training to get faster, to get fitter. I'm 22. I got so many years of triathlon in front of me. So yeah, just going to give it a red hot shot. Just keep going because I can. How cool.
That's, privilege, isn't it? To be able to. Your body is capable.
Yep. It's a privilege to toe that start line. It was a privilege to cross that finish line. It's just a privilege to be able to say, I'm a freaking Ironman. Iron woman.
I know. Can we change it to Iron Woman? Come on. It's 2026.
My auntie is determined it needs to be Iron person.
Yes.
No.
Doesn't sound as sexy though, does it?
It really doesn't.
No. It's not woke enough though for me. Well, Lily, I'm so proud of you. 22 years old, you've only been doing triathlon for 3 years and now you've got a full Ironman to your name. And that is a serious effort. You do so many things. Just even fitting in the training in your crazy hectic schedule was a lot. So good on you. Fucking smashed it. Excuse my French. But what I love about Lily's story is that she didn't wait until she was older or richer or more experienced or had more time available to take her nutrition seriously. She got stuck in and she found a way to do it, and she got herself across the finish line in Cairns because of it, not in spite of it. So if you are doing this sport and nutrition is the thing that is letting you down, and it's the thing that is the difference between, having an experience like Lily did or maybe suffering a little bit, whether that's in your day-to-day eating to support your training or it's your race day fueling, I think it's a difference between surviving races and getting to the finish line, maybe looking at your Garmin, and actually enjoying them and crossing the finish line with a smile. And Lily had so much energy at the end still. Afterwards, we were dancing and she was having the best time and she didn't look like death warmed up. I saw somebody running literally sideways through the third and fourth lap and I'm like, oh, that is not looking good. That is not looking pretty. So if you want what Lily has, the same confidence on race day, the same nutrition skills that she's going to take with her for the rest of her long life, come and join us in the Triathlon Nutrition Academy program. Head to dietitianapproved.com/academy and register your interest in our upcoming cohort. And if the price makes you balk like it did for Lily, then remember this. If you think nutrition education is expensive, wait until you add up the cost of getting it wrong. Lily, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much for having me on, and thank you so much for the best week of my freaking life, the best day. So
Yay.
Amazing.
Well, go and enjoy that finish line feeling. Hopefully stairs get easier for you in the next couple of days, but you've absolutely earned it.
Thank you so much.